We are excited to have Cheryl Garland here with us. And I know she's been traveling. And so, Cheryl, we appreciate you jumping on with us here. I've had a lot of requests for the recording, so we will get that out to people that have requested it as well. So I'm going to do a quick intro of Cheryl, and then I'll hand it over to her because she has a lot of info to get through today. Cheryl is a MS, LMHC, and RPT-S, and she is also a small business owner herself. She has seen the need for mental health services increase over the past 18 months during COVID. She's passionate about small business owners, and she takes control of their mental health and helping them coach and learn how to cope. Cheryl is founded Integrative Counseling Solutions in 2018 to meet the mental health and substance abuse for Iowans. She has a staff that she currently manages of 23 and multiple locations. Cheryl, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Christina, for inviting me to come in and talk. I'm really excited to talk to you today. This is a subject I'm really passionate about. We were founded, Integrative Counseling Solutions was founded in 2008. So we're in our 13th year and very doing our best to try to get out there and meet the needs of people in general. We work with all ages, and that includes couples and families and kids, and just have launched all kinds of services to try to get, help out to people to meet the mental health and substance abuse needs of Iowans. So today I'm going to talk about a subject near and dear to my heart, is being a business owner during this pandemic. I'm right in there with you. I want you to know whatever questions you have are welcome, that we all share some things in common, and we probably have some issues that are unique to our businesses, but all questions are welcome, and I will try to get to those and at the same time get through this material in the hour that we have together. So talk today will be about mind your mental health, how to take control when things seem out of control. And boy, do they seem out of control right now. One thing that people in general don't seem to like very much is change. And life is change. Also, uncertainty is not a real popular thing, and we've had an awful lot of that as well. And so we'll try to address that and how it affects us. Anybody remember 2020 and running from store to store to get cleaning supplies? I know I was running to all the Dollar Generals and cleaning out as much as I could of Lysol spray and wipes, anything I could find, hand sanitizer if you could get it. So it kind of freaked us out when there was no toilet paper. We didn't know what this pandemic would mean at the time, but we all knew we would need toilet paper. So stock up, right? The shelves were empty. People were frantic. You couldn't find masks and gloves and hand sanitizer. Forget it. Those acrylic barriers, where did you get those? And air purifiers, we heard, maybe we need that. It was really hard to prioritize and provision our offices and our homes. I know for us, we have 5 locations, so getting enough of that stuff to make sure all of our staff were protected. In the meantime, they were at home, working from home, because we didn't know that it was safe to even be in the office. I remember closing our office on March 17th. It was the strangest feeling, telling staff to go home. We didn't know how we would see our clients, but we did have a telehealth system, and we said, we'll figure it out, but just go home. We need to keep everybody safe. And we were fortunate that we could do that. Obviously, not all types of businesses can do that. So now what, right? We have supply chain woes, lack of inventory, lack of staff, fears and safety concerns, all combined to create high anxiety. I don't know if anybody saw Mel Brooks' movie, High Anxiety, but if you haven't seen it, it's good for a laugh. And we have to keep our sense of humor in all of this too. So it was a challenge. It was challenge after challenge. And maybe it wasn't as bad as we feared. I can remember thinking this germ is out on the street, in the air, outdoors, everywhere. We looked, everything we touched. But it was bad, but maybe it wasn't as bad as we feared. We came to find that, there were job losses and people were afraid of catching a deadly virus. The shelves were empty. Some businesses closed. Maybe your favorite restaurant, maybe you're in a restaurant, you had to close or pivot. There definitely was frenzy and stress, anxiety, and with it, mental illness. So it meant a flurry of activity People moving to e-commerce was stressful, but we had to do it. And we were trying to support our staff at the same time, working ourselves, many of us business owners working through the night. I know I can remember applying for loans. I still have a sore muscle in my hamstring muscles from sitting so much, filling out so much paperwork, right? You either had to pivot online if you could, or if you couldn't, find another way to survive. Everyone is working harder, longer hours to launch and plan and pivot and apply for loans and grants. And even the best prepared people weren't ready for this. I don't know anybody that felt that they were ready for this kind of change. So that does create a lot of stress. But can't talk about it, right? What would people think if we talked about our own mental health? Being a business owner is scary. We feel like we must pretend everything is okay, but the truth is it was very much out of control. Things were very uncertain, and we were trying to keep ourselves together so we can keep our staff informed and calm and ready to make whatever changes we had to. But one thing we don't do very well in our society is talk about mental health. Yet 72% of entrepreneurs are affected by mental health, compared to 48% of non-entrepreneurs. Responsibility of business ownership is huge. The risk is high. We feel alone. Funds may be running out. Loans may be called. It's hard to hire help these days with this little thing called the Great Resignation. And that can leave us feeling hopeless. Feels like an endless cycle, and we can feel very much alone unless we're talking to other business owners. So maybe we need to talk about it. So that's kind of the gist of our talk. We're going to try to give you some ideas and ways to cope and help open up the conversation. I hope that will happen today. So first of all, let's start with some signs of mental illness. And some of these may look like just, we're a little bummed out, we're feeling sad or down. That might be the beginning of it. We may have some confused thinking or reduced ability to concentrate or irritability. Certainly fears or worries. I don't know if they were excessive. How did we know in the beginning that we would make it through? So maybe excessive, maybe not. Having those fears or worries, I think, might be normal too. Extreme mood changes, though, can come, and that's hard to deal with and hard for others to deal with. We may be withdrawing from friends or activities, and certainly when we couldn't go anywhere, we had to, unless we were connecting online. We may feel tired, have low energy, have difficulty sleeping, which of course will lead to tiredness and low energy. And we may be having difficulty coping with all of the stress naturally. Some people use drugs and alcohol to cope with that. We'll talk a little bit about, how to minimize that and maybe do some other things to cope instead. And you may see major changes in eating habits, changes in sex drive, excessive anger, hostility, violence, maybe even detachment from reality, paranoia, suicidal thinking. And of course, we'll get down to some of these lower areas on the list, maybe time to consider reaching out to a therapist and go see a professional. Let them help you with these kinds of issues. We don't want it to get so bad that you can't function. So that's a good time to reach out and get some help. So what contributes to mental illness? Here's some risk factors. And you'll notice some arrows on the left side. Family history of mental illness can lead to us having mental illness. Stressful life situations. Yeah, I would say this has been a stressful life situation for most everybody I know. Financial problems, certainly many people are having financial problems due to the pandemic. Medical conditions, well, you might find that the COVID is a medical condition that you're dealing with, and some of the people have already dealt with it. And so that can cause ongoing mental health concerns too. And is this a traumatic experience? I think for many people it is. So Some of these things lower on the list may not be contributing factors, but if you have had a previous mental illness, that you may be more, at risk for having a problem now. Mental illness is more common than you would think. We're going to talk a little bit about coping skills today. And here's a picture from Fuse Des Moines session where they brought me in to teach some coping skills. And as you can see, we had a good time. So this is doesn't have to be all serious, but it's good for us to know how to change our own mood. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. Coping skills. Let's see. We want to build resilience. That's that bounce back ability that gives us the ability to deal with whatever comes our way and will help us in life, not just now during a pandemic, but anytime. So what you saw in the last picture was sensory rhythm and movement and exercises that we were doing to incorporate those. And you'll see some more on the next page here where we're practicing, we're using bubbles. So we're doing some breathing with the bubbles. We're doing some mindfulness. The guy standing there with the feather is practicing mindfulness. And on your left, you'll see that we have all kinds of tools available where we're using our senses. So we have different lotions to smell, different, like a sugar scrub for different sensory experiences. We had musical instruments, so we could take in different audio, and we were up and moving and dancing, and hopefully we'll get to some of that today too. So what is sensory rhythm and movement? This is a training that I went through with Robin Goebel, and she uses it as a form of therapy, but it's exactly what it sounds like. It's using your senses, and you can ground through paying attention to what you hear and what you see and what you smell and what you taste and what you feel. So again, using maybe some lavender lotion and feel that going on, and also smelling it can really help relax you. Movement such as dance or bouncing on one of those big exercise balls, or even walking, getting rhythm into it with musical instruments. Walking is rhythmic as well. You can use a butterfly hug like this, and that is grounding. But take in everything that your senses can give you, because that will transport you in a way. Any questions on that? I don't know if everybody's mics are open. Don't see any questions. Develop positive habits, getting out in nature, walking, maybe some positive podcasts while you're walking, things that you enjoy, whether it's a bath at bedtime or it's, a special hot cocoa that you enjoy. Make sure that you take time for those positive habits that will get you away from the worries and the fears. Take some time away from your business. That's important. I know it's hard. As a business owner, I know that's probably one of the hardest things, is to get myself away from the business, but it's so important for your mental health. And it's really also important to build a community. We're here together as business owners. And if we can engage in some conversation in a little bit, when I can figure out how to hear all your microphones, it'll be great. Finding a mentor. I know Christina is a wonderful mentor for many people, and we all need somebody to talk to, and preferably somebody who's walked a mile in our moccasins and can give us some guidance. They're really helpful. You may find those mentors through organizations like SCORE as part of the SBA, ABI, NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners. I'll give them a plug. I'm a member there. And of course, that's for women, but we have wonderful educational programs and great friendships and people that you can talk to that have some of the same experiences that you're having, dealing with the changes and sometimes fears, and just, trying to navigate uncharted waters. really want to help you put things in perspective. I call this the big deal scale. So if we've got something that we're really concerned about today, I might say, well, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big a deal is this? 10 being a nuclear holocaust. So, okay, maybe my loan being called is a big deal and it's going to cause some hardship, but it's not a nuclear holocaust. It's not a 10. Maybe it's a 7. So we have to try to put things in perspective so everything isn't at the top, because it probably really isn't, even though it feels that way. I want to encourage you to learn mindfulness. The fellow with the feather in this picture here is balancing the feather on his finger. And if you can do this, if you keep your eye on the top of the feather, on the eye of the feather, you can successfully move your body and move your hands so that you can balance that feather. Well, it takes mindfulness to do that. And it's really hard to think about all your problems when you're thinking about the top of the feather and keeping that feather balanced on your finger. So that's just an example. There are so many kinds of mindfulness, and you can, of course, Google that and find a way that works for you. The feathers can be found, by the way, at like Michael's. So they're easy to get a hold of. Practicing gratitude is so important. Really will change your life to find the things that we're grateful for, or count your blessings, if you want to call it that. And later on, I have a slide with this book in it. This is Dr. Amit Sood's book, and I have training with him on stress management. It's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it. And you can find many good tips in here, even if you don't read the whole book. But practicing gratitude is a very important piece of his program. And he has a website too called Resilient Option that I'll put up on a slide later as well. One of the things that Dr. Sood has taught me and the group that I was in is how to zoom in and zoom out. So if things in the whole wide world are really distressing and upsetting, and you just can't watch the news or think about that stuff, then zoom in maybe on, your dinner with your child, or a visit with your grandmother, or things that are in your everyday life that are satisfying and happy for you. If things at home are really stressful and you're trying to homeschool your child while also working full-time from home and it's too much, maybe zoom out on the wider world and find some positive stories there that help you get through this, or find something funny to focus on. Maybe watch a movie, but get your mind off of those details that are so upsetting. And it's really important to learn what we can and we cannot control. So you can just draw yourself a bullseye, and in the center, write a list of the things that you feel that you can control. Maybe it's what you eat or take in that day. Maybe it is what you smell, or whether or not you go for a walk, or who you spend your time with, or what you study or read. But get those down, those things that you can control, because everything outside of that is outside of your control, and there's not much we can do about it. So let's try to focus on what we can control. And of course, practicing deep belly breathing is always so helpful. So I have a slide to represent that, but I'll teach you a little bit of deep belly breathing. It helps to put your hand on your stomach, and then we're going to breathe in and breathe out. So I'm going to use circle breathing at first. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let's do one more. Breathe in. And breathe out. You can feel a little bit more relaxed already. And then square breathing is another good technique. Breathe in when you go up. And when you don't go down, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Go over and breathe out. There are many different ways to do breathing. Those are just a couple, but hopefully you're feeling a little more relaxed after doing that. Let's see if I missed any. Nope, I think we got through that list. Those are some great coping skills. And again, take a look at that fun picture. And since we're doing well on time, I think we're going to take some time to dance. So you can shut off your video if you'd like, or you can be on screen if you'd like, but I'm going to put on one of my favorite songs and encourage you to get up and move your body a little bit and just see how this makes you feel. Any minute. Get ready to dance. Oops. Okay, let's try that again. I think I have the thing going to the wrong place. So just one moment. Let's see if we can try this again. Nope, it's not working. Okay, so I apologize. We'll play that a little later and I'll figure out my technology issues. So happiness chemicals, very important. You've all heard of them: dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and here's how to get them. So we get oxytocin by physical touch, petting animals. Hugs are the best way to get that love hormone. And socializing, helping others, those all help us to get oxytocin. Dopamine, we can actually get from achieving a goal, that high you feel when you finish a race, making sure you get enough sleep. Even having a bath can help us get that reward chemical of dopamine. Endorphins, from laughing and exercising and listening to music. So be sure and play your favorite music and get up and dance a little bit. That will help you feel great. And then serotonin is a mood stabilizer. And you get that from walking and exercise and mindfulness. I forgot to mention that endorphin is actually a painkiller. So be sure and exercise and laugh and listen to your favorite music. Now that we can do live music again, that's really a great opportunity to get those. I mentioned earlier Dr. Sood's book, the 4-module Stress Management and Resilient Training Program. It's an easy read, and also his website, resilientoption.com. At our agency, we have a program called Brain Health Coaching. And this program is designed to help you, your children, or a partner build resilience. And mindfulness and coping and relaxation skills are all things that we teach in this program to help you deal with the stressors of your life, including COVID, and teaching children when you're at home, working from home, and other changes that have been caused by the pandemic. But really, everybody can use this type of help in managing stress. It is a specialized program that it would be paid for through your flex spending account or medical savings account, because it's not therapy. It is brain health coaching. And so get yourself a coach. That may be a helpful tip. And let's see if we can take some questions.
So I don't see any questions yet, but if the audience does have questions, feel free to head down to the Q&A down there and drop them in. Cheryl, any advice on them? I know a lot of people are kind of being that first point person for mental health. Great resources for them to, obviously we're not trained like you. First point of contact comes in, advice on how to deal with that.
Well, hopefully a company has some resources like an EAP program, but some of us small business owners don't have all of that available. So we might want to assist our employee or colleague at work with setting up an appointment with a therapist, calling NAMI if they want some psychoeducation or they want to be a part of a support group. Really depends upon what the issue is. Maybe they're having an issue with their child and they don't know where to turn to get help for their child. Services may be available at schools for children, but if it's for an adult, really it's reaching out to, you could go to Psychology Today and look up a therapist online. You could go to just Google search mental health agency if you're looking for services. Depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for substance abuse treatment, then of course you would Google that. There should be no wrong door when you walk into an agency. Hopefully they'll get you where you need to go. So I know if somebody calls our agency and they are looking for something we don't offer, we would try to make a referral. So even, picking any mental health agency should get you to either a person that you're looking for or to the next agency that can help you. Is that helpful? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think that's great. I just think a lot of people, mental health has risen to the top, and I feel like a lot of people are becoming those point people, whether they realize they were going to be or not.
Right.
So
I do have my phone number on the next slide, and I'm happy to take calls from anybody that just needs to know where to send somebody or what are the next steps. I mean, if we're talking about something serious, we have somebody who's in serious crisis, it may be getting them to the hospital, right? The hospital emergency rooms do deal with mental health crises. Some of the rural areas have a hard time with that, but if you're here in the Des Moines area, you should be able to take somebody and make, if they're suicidal, please go with them, get somebody to go with them, make sure they're not alone, and get them to the hospital emergency room. It's you may have to wait a while for those services, and then they'll determine whether or not they need to stay overnight or they need to go to a crisis observation center. There is one in Osceola, I believe. So the state of Iowa is adding more resources, and I know there's a phone number coming out that's going to be like a 911, but specifically for mental health. And I'll try to look that up while I'm on here. What other things might you have questions about? How many people are familiar with NAMI? National Association of Mental Illness is going through a name change. Hi, Bernie. Raised his hand. It's now called MindSpring, but services there are, fantastic. And they can be a wealth of knowledge. If you're looking for psychoeducation, they put out a book on children's mental illness. I know that I keep it in my office, and I'll use that as a way to explain to parents maybe something that's going on with their child. But they have resources for adults as well, and support groups. So it's really a safe bet that you can get an answer from NAMI if no one else, and encourage you to reach out to them. So you really have to, if you're that person that's receiving those calls, you're going to have to triage who needs help first, right? So that person that needs to go to the hospital emergency room is going to be at the top of your list. And the person that maybe just needs to talk to some other business owners about, or other colleagues about whatever it is that's going on at work, may not be having the serious symptoms, but they do need some support. So trying to arrange for that. Again, if employee assistance programs are an option, that's great for some short-term counseling, but if they need more than that, it's a good bet to go straight to looking up resources in your local area. There are a lot of counselors in West Des Moines, for example. So even if you live on the south side of Des Moines, you may be able to find counselors there. But I know in our building alone in West Towers, which is right across from Valley High School, there's at our agency, there are 14, and there's another probably 30 in the building. So it shouldn't be too hard. It's just a question of finding somebody, but getting in is another story. Do they have a wait list? It's possible you may run into that. And then you'll want to be sure that the person that you're seeing is on your insurance panel so that you don't get a big bill afterwards. And you'll want to check your deductibles to make sure, if you have a substantial deductible, that you know about that and it doesn't come as a surprise later. We always check that for our clients or people that call in, but we also encourage them to check that themselves just to make sure, because that information is only as good as the person on the phone that gave it to us, right? So what other questions? See if I can get my music to play for you. Nope, it's not playing. Okay. What we'll do is we'll turn off the Bluetooth.
I don't see any more questions in the Q&A box, Cheryl. So
I'm going to try this one more time to get this song for you. That'll be a good way to end and try to get people moving a little bit, because that really does help with endorphins. Here we go. Everybody can get up and dance to this if you'd like. Christine, would you like to open this up to discussion?
I think I'm going to have to leave. We've guaranteed that it would be confidential today, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But somebody did have a question. It says best ways or advice on how to deal with someone who has depression.
Well, I don't think there's a pat answer to that. I think it depends on the severity of the depression, what they're asking for. Do they want help? Would they be willing to go talk to somebody? I think having empathy and showing compassion and normalizing the feelings that they have, you can't go wrong there. An awful lot of people have depression right now. Do they want to talk about it? Do they want you to help them find somebody to talk with? Really feeling out what they're comfortable with, and how you might be as assistants, reading up on it so that you're knowledgeable and that will help you to be compassionate, knowing that what they're going through. I mean, they may not feel like getting up and getting a shower today. It just depends on how bad that depression is. Is it keeping them from living their daily life? Are they going to work still? Are they not? I think really asking them what would they like help with? Would it be okay if you help them find somebody to talk to? Because it really is their decision. unless you're talking about a child. So just showing some respect for their process, maybe offering to get together with them to go do something that they enjoy if they're willing to do that. So it might be just going out and getting some shopping done, getting some of their errands done might be helpful. And everybody's so different, so that's why it's hard to say, you know, there's no real pat answer. But if it's severe, then trying to get them to a therapist or get them into a crisis center or a hospital would be necessary.
All right. I do not see any other questions. So I think we will go ahead and wrap up today. Cheryl's information is up on the screen. And again, Cheryl's just a wealth of knowledge. I mean, again, pointing back to that she is a small business owner. She's been fabulous to work with. She's been at our summit, so you probably have seen her there. But again, if you know someone that needs help and or you'd like to talk more, please reach out to Cheryl. And we will be sure to get this recording up online. We had quite a few requests for it, so we will get it trimmed down and up online as soon as we can. So thanks so much for joining us today. We do have other sessions going on for Global Entrepreneurship Week this week, so feel free to check out our website at dsnpartnership.com/events if you'd like to join us at any other events this week. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Christina, and everybody else. And again, that's my cell phone. If I can help you, please give me a call.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being here today, and we'll see you all soon.